All took knees for each team's first possession. Doc Rivers, Steve Kerr, and Jaylen Brown have been among the NBA's leaders on the topic of social justice. Here is what they had to say yesterday.
It basically proves the point about a privileged life, in a lot of ways. I'll say it because I don't think a lot of people want to. Could you imagine today if those were all black people storming the Capitol and what would have happened, so that to me is a picture that's worth 1,000 words for all of us.
A blatant display of the inequity in our country. And I think given that the vast majority of players in our league are African American, it can only affect every single one of them deeply. It affects all of us deeply, but especially if you're an African American and you've had to deal with this type of injustice in your entire life and in your family's lives. So today was a very emotional day.
We definitely want to speak to some of the things that's been going on in our society. It reminds me of what Dr. Martin Luther King has said, that there is two split different Americas. In one America, you get killed by sleeping in your car, selling cigarettes, or playing in your backyard. And in another America, you get to storm the Capitol and no tear gas, no massive arrests, none of that. So I think it's obvious. It's 2021. I don't think anything has changed. We want to still acknowledge that. We want to still push for the change that we're looking for. But as of yet, we have not seen it. We want to continue to keep conversations alive and do our part.
Just a shocking and extraordinary day in our country yesterday. Nick, I want to start with you. What was your reaction to everything that unfolded?
So I think Doc and Kerr and Jaylen Brown, who was wise way beyond his years, such a brilliant young man on the court, but particularly off the court. They did a great job laying out the difference and the obvious dichotomy in police response to these protests and protests that we've seen throughout the summer. But I want to approach it from a slightly different angle, at least to begin with, which is whether or not we are all living in the same world. And so let me bring it to sports. Do you know why LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan? Because LeBron's got 9 championships and Michael Jordan never made a finals. Do you know why I support Baker Mayfield? Only guy ever to go undefeated as a rookie and win a Super Bowl. That right there is how we talk about everything except sports. Sports are the only thing where we agree upon a set of facts, where it's not LeBron versus Jordan, who won more rings. It's okay, there's facts. We know what the ring count is, we know, and then we debate it. We are so broken in every other area of public discourse that sports is the only thing that's true. We can't agree on, do masks work or not? They do. The health experts say to wear them, but that is a controversial take. For months, and even maybe today, we can't even agree, is COVID actually real? And on things as petty as how many human beings attended a presidential inauguration, or as important as who won the next presidential election, you have a set of bad actors, from elected officials to media members to random folks on the internet, who have created more than a cottage industry, a massive world-changing industry of misinformation. So what you had yesterday, Wilds, was a group of people who truly believe that their guy has been robbed. They believe the coup is being executed against them, and that this is what their patriotic duty demands. And so, of course, the police response or lack thereof was laughable and wildly hypocritical. We know that. But we are now to a point to where we can't even agree upon who won an election. It is as simple as who won last year's Super Bowl. But wild sports are the only thing we have left where we can say a obvious fact and not have someone say, well, you know, I read on Facebook, and it is a dangerous, and as you saw yesterday, destructive place to be.
Well said, Nick. I was saddened by yesterday's events, and I saw a tweet by Stacey Abrams that sort of lifted my spirits when she wrote, with all the meanness around, and she listed off all the accomplishments of who's headed to Washington, D.C. now, whether from Georgia and Kamala Harris, and the diversity of people that are now coming into Washington. She ends it with God bless America. And then I saw how the Bucks and Pistons started their game by kneeling. The ball got tipped back to Giannis, and everyone takes a knee. Giannis has the ball. And specifically, I want to focus on Giannis. Giannis has only been here 8 years, he says in his press conference. If there was ever a time to lose faith in the American promise, yesterday would have been a good day to do it. The players are kneeling in remembrance of Jacob Blake, who was shot 7 times. So his report, they were kneeling for 7 seconds. The U.S. Capitol is under siege, and they're playing in an empty arena, Brandon, because COVID killed over 3,000 Americans yesterday, just yesterday. But in his post-game presser, Giannis said this: as Giannis, I stand for change. And as my team, we stand for change. And whenever we see something that's not right, we're going to speak up and use our platform the right way. And the reason I thought that resonated and echoed what Stacey Abrams said, and Obama talks a lot about this, the promise of America. And the promise of America was not broken. It was not shaken. It was attacked, but it was not broken. And to see the optimism in Giannis's voice when he talks about raising his kid in America gave me hope for a better day.
Yeah, well, if, you know, talking about the ideals and the constructs of America, if you want to hear about all of that, you can turn on CNN, MSNBC, listen to Tiffany D. Cross. I'm not here to talk politics, all right? This is, to me, about black and white, point blank, period. So when I think about what's going on now, I think about 2013 being invited to the Mental Health Task Force, my wife Mishi and I, by Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, out on the 32nd District in California, inviting celebrities, athletes, and other politicians to come together in D.C. to walk the halls of Congress. I think about in 2016 being invited to testify in Congress to the U.S. Finance Committee, a meeting they haven't had in 30 years. And there are conversations that we haven't had in 30, 40 years around mental health. And I go back to that because I remember having an opportunity to go into different rooms, to go on the floor. And I thought about how hard it was to get into those rooms. Not because I was black, but literally how hard it was to get in those rooms. Going into these buildings, you had armed guards. You had so much security. So when I think about, you know, thousands of people, hundreds of people storming the Capitol, I was like, how did they do that? But the reality is, sometimes it's about black and white, literally. What if that was black people doing that? What would have been the outcome? So I appreciate sports because it gives us an opportunity to push the conversation forward. But what I would say to all my NFL brothers, all my NBA brothers, you don't have to carry this burden alone. It's not just you, it's all of us, right? So now we're talking about the fundamentals of human rights. We're talking about civil rights. That's
I'm a star, shining brightest in the darkest times. I'm a star, twinkle, twinkle, I bring the sparkle